So I threw this in there. I think this is a great reminder, especially for offensive coordinators. Calling plays requires ability to best utilize player talent levels with the team's offensive scheme, then modifying the existing plays when needed to give your players the distinct advantage of their defensive counterparts. Now that we're through the linemen and we're through the running backs, those are kind of, to me, those are stepping stones until we get to our wide receivers and quarterbacks, where we really took off in the Cedar Grove, Belgium football program. Being able to utilize their skills on the outside to be able to really change it. And we started off with the wide receivers, and I actually called them. The game changers. Okay. A lot can happen in a short amount of time based off your wide receivers. Especially that's what I found. We do a quick strike. We'll take the shot when we get it, but a lot of that comes from the talents that we have at our wide receiving corps. 2 years ago when we had the state run, I had 3 great wide receivers, and they all covered every aspect. Even the one up there where it says small and strong. My tight end was 5'6", 5'7", built. He was, like I said, he was in our tight end position. He had great leverage. He understood the blocking scheme. It fit in there. He could also run routes. He could also catch passes. I put him in there because that was able for us to be able to change that offense to be able to work to his strengths. Size and speed. If you go back to looking at that first slide of our offense, we will change our offensive schemes. And what's the number one way that you can change an offensive scheme? A little slow on the refresh. It's obviously by formations. You can see here that the formations that we generally run are the base off of what we have. It doesn't change anything, but the formation will modify and give the advantage to match our wide receivers' talents. Okay. Our X wide receiver is generally our quickest and our best route runner. And a lot of times that is because he's isolated. We can isolate him in our play calling and in our offense to be able to utilize almost a third of the field to himself. A lot of it happens even in our base sets. If we go to a twin set over here, that shifts that safety over a little bit. That gives him that whole type of that side of the field to utilize. Our Z receivers are bigger, stronger, taller. A lot of it because there's a lot of congestion when they're in this side of the field there too. So we will set them as at the Z spot. Our Y, like I said, our Ys are always been small. They're the best blockers out of our wide receiving corps. Quick, good hands. So take these. Think about this. Think about, I asked you earlier to be able to take your offensive picture of your offense. Now picture your changing your offense or changing a formation based off of your kids that you have, your players that you have, and how you can utilize that to be able to work for their advantage. Getting back to the wide receivers, their mental aspects. This is huge for us. This is where we look into modifying our offense based on what they see. All right, I trust my guys. They'll go out there. They'll see where the defense is lined up. They'll run routes based off of what they can do. We always talk about breaking. We always focus on number one thing that we focus on with our wide receivers going against quarterback is what we call breaking their hips. Even if the play is not coming to them, obviously run play, stuff like that, they're still going and they're testing to see what type of a play that they can break their hips on. Does everyone know what I mean by breaking their hips? If a quarterback is backpedaling and you've got him going on a fly route, and if he breaks his hips to go this way, then you know you can go back inside this way. If he breaks his hip this way, then you know you have the outside, you have the advantage on it. That mental aspect of that athlete being able to come to the sideline or telling my quarterback, I can do this. I can get this guy at this on this route. All right? Based off of that formation that he is running.
Just a quick question. See, you have considerable amount of success on the offense, like a knife and butter, right? How do your players handle it mentally when someone can match up to them skill-wise, or when you get in those games where it's a dogfight? How do you change how you address your team?
What we will actually modify the offense. I was going to get to that a little bit into the play calling, but yeah, the later you go on in the playoffs, you see better caliber athletes. You start to see press locks. You see faster athletes, stuff like that. We will actually start to change offensive formations, and if they're not blocking wide receiver or cornerbacks on, we'll take this X and put him over here. And our state run, our Z was our best wide receiver. He was tall, he was quick, he was fast. The reason why he did play X was because he could block better than what the Z could, or the X could. So he played over there because we have a formation and we come in tight here. We like to run out of that. So, and we can still pass over that. But we'll flop sides. We'll tell them, okay, you two switch. The way that we call our offensive passing schemes, our passing routes, we got a formation and a set of numbers. And our numbers read, 1, go 1, 5, 7.
What do you see for defensive fronts mostly out of this? 31, 11, 22? What gives you fits? I'm a defensive guy, so I'm looking at this, I'm trying to dissect. I already wanted this, I'm wondering what are some things that...
Lately, we are seeing more of a 3-4 out of our conference, and I think the reason for that is lack of size in our conference, lack of numbers in our conference. Although generally a lot of it from 3-4 to the 4-4 is one of the two. So this really allows you to spread that out as well. Give me an example. What you would?
I'm just thinking. You just see usually a 3 tech away from your guy, and your one guy is the quarterback, and then you close it down. Teams play too high versus you. Like the bottom line formation. Most teams just play too high over the top and match up.
In this type of formation, in this bottom left here, most teams, for me, will stack the box. They like to know, or I like to run out of this, but I also bait them in this. I will throw a quick pitch out here, a blast, and send these guys on flies. I don't think anybody in here is around from our neck of the woods, but we've been known to blast for 2 straight games, and we exchange 2 films. Well, I'll blast in the 2-hole for 2 straight games, then lead off that 3rd game whenever they're watching with the same formation and fly that guy. They come up, we fly and let them go. So we take advantage of him being my fastest, being able to get out, Good question, good dialogue there, I like that. Any questions, anything else like that we have? So like I was touching on, where those mental aspects of the talented wide receiver being able to understand what he can and cannot do against a defense or against a player like that is huge. There's a lot of times, there's actually a picture I'll show later on there too. Actually, this play right here, just 3 sequence, was that scenario I just told you about. We ended up getting them sucked up on it. Well, to be able to match that play calling and be able to rely on them to be able to help you advance your offense and modify your offense is huge.